All right, we are back and in action.
We are back and in action. So we're here. Thank you, Lord. We're finally doing it. So hey guys. So I'm Siobhan. Welcome to the Womanhood series. We are so happy to be with you, and this is our first episode. The Womanhood series is all about having topical discussions that as women we really should be having, you know, very important things that often we brush over or we don't take seriously. So today we have the lovely Yvonne with us, and we're talking about financial goals. So guys, if you haven't already, get your pens and notepads because she's here to answer our questions. I mean, she's done phenomenal. So help me welcome her by giving us a thumbs up or a little heart emoji or a wow in your comment section. Yvonne.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you. So first of all, that was really sweet, Siobhan. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is definitely a topic of conversation that needs to be had a lot more often.
Yeah.
I think finances is such a big part of everybody's life, but it's such a shame that we're not taught about it when we're growing up. But I do have to give a massive disclaimer. I am not an expert. I am not a financial expert. I'm basically just this mum on a journey to financial freedom. And I basically want to share the tips that I'm learning. But some might work, some might not work. But these are just things that I'm doing to improve my finances and hopefully get me to the point where I can retire before I'm 40. You know, that's the plan.
I love that.
So I think it's really, really something that I think a lot of people should think about, because last year basically taught us that life can throw a curveball. And if your finances are not in place, then you can find yourself in a dire situation. So it's really, really important to make sure that you not only have financial goals, which a lot of people think about, but also be in a place where you're managing your money and you're managing your wealth in the most effective way to get you to a point where, you know, you can do what it is that you want to do in life. Everybody wants to do something with their life that, you know, that will include or revolve around money. So it's really important. And also because I'm a Christian and I value, you know, the biblical principles, it's also being a good steward of what God has blessed you with and making
absolutely,
not just squandering. Isn't that such a good word?
Squandering
way as life would bring it about. So yeah, so I'm just here to share with you a few tips that I've learned in the hopes that it will inspire as many people as possible to make the finances.
Fantastic. I mean, honestly, having you here is such an amazing thing, because I'm just seeing you hitting goals left, right, and center. And I'm like, my girl is like amazing, honestly. So I want to start off by saying, you know, I mean, you mentioned it as well in your introduction that we're not often taught about money, how to manage money and what have you. So what did, you know, money look like? Or what was your relationship with money growing up? What did that look like?
Okay, so that's a really, really interesting question to ask, because I've actually been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks, because I know that not everybody has the same starting point. And I was really, really blessed to be in a position where I could basically get a bit of knowledge when it came to finances, because my mum was on top of it. And I know that that's not the position that everybody else starts with, but it doesn't mean that I was always good with my money. Because sometimes you have the knowledge, but you don't have the wisdom to apply that knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think it got to the point where you know, after I did my degree and I decided to take some time out and just travel the world, that I realized, wait, there's an entire world out there. And there's a lot of food to be eaten in this world.
Right.
And there's just so much fun to be had. So I think I spent a lot of my 20s basically just working to travel, to just enjoy life. And I didn't really think about managing my money. Now, I was always good in the sense that I knew that it was important not to pick up bad debt. It was important not to go too much, not to go into your overdraft. That didn't stop me from going into my overdraft. But I was always conscious that I needed to basically not be in the negatives. but it didn't mean I was very much aware of how I was spending my money. I just always made sure that at the end of the day, I didn't have a minus figure in my bank account. And it's only when I had my son that now the principles that my mum had taught me in life, that, you know, you need to save money. Saving? What? Have you seen this new restaurant in Central London? Have we been to Brazil yet? Have we been to China yet?
Okay.
It wasn't always the number one priority. Spending was always the number one priority.
Okay.
And it's only when I had my son that's when everything changed, and it was always about, actually, let's think about how we manage my money. So if I go back to that, I think about, you know what, I had such a great upbringing in terms of understanding finances, but it wasn't until later on in life that I started to make the application of what I'd learned.
Right. Wow, that is powerful. I mean, because the way that you've managed to, you know, defy all these odds, let's say it like that, it almost seems like you always knew about saving. But actually, you're saying the opposite. You're saying, actually, no, I wanted this and I would get it. I wanted that and I'd get it. But you had the knowledge and the understanding in the background, but hadn't actually applied it until you had your son. So tell us a bit more about that, because you've marketed yourself as well as the successful single mum. So tell us about that story.
Okay, so that is true. I have marketed myself as a successful single mom, and we'll get into that a little bit into detail about that a little bit later on. But the reason why my finances and the way I thought about finances really changed after I had my son was because once I became a single mom and the reality of becoming a single mom really hit me, that's when I started to think about, whoa, my money really genuinely has to stretch. Because it shifted from just doing what I wanted. Now I have to think about what my son needs. I have to think about the future, thinking about him at 6 months old, thinking about how am I going to afford for him to go to uni? What? He still has like a whole 18 years, you know? And then the reality of actually nurseries. Nursery was the biggest hit that really made a massive difference, because I remember going around and seeing all these beautiful nurseries, and I was already nervous about leaving my son with people in general.
Yeah.
But when they tell you the price and you're like, wait, what?
Ridiculous.
2/3 of my salary has to go towards somebody looking after my son, and 1/3 of my salary was already my utility bills, my mortgage, everything. So that means, wait, how are we gonna eat? How am I gonna feed him out? How am I gonna do anything? And you know, it's something that's inevitable. I can't not take him to nursery because I need to go back to work, and I need to leave him with somebody. So it got to that point, and it was just like, wait, I have all this money. And I sat down and I thought, okay, wait, I need to go for a promotion. I need more money. I need more money. I need more money. But it was only when I sat down with my mum and she was like, wait, you can go for more money, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that situation is not going to change. You're just going to spend the money that you bring in, and you're still going to be frustrated because you still don't have any money left over to, for example, save or do whatever it is that you want to do. I sat and I thought, wait, I really genuinely need to learn and apply the principles of managing your money, because I think for a lot of people, including myself at that time, it was always about, wait, I need to get to this salary, I need to get to that salary, because that means I'll have X amount coming into my account, and that means I'll be able to do whatever it is that I want. But I'm an impulse buyer. I'm an emotional spender. I love things. I didn't spend as much before, but now when I had my son and you go into shops and you're like, wait, these shoes are so cute. And this is so cute. And you know, it's a little bit different when you have a boy than it is when you have a little girl, because I can't imagine when you have a little girl.
Oh my goodness.
I saw.
There's a lot of cute things. I mean, only yesterday did I impulse buy and I bought her this cute outfit. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, and then I'm a sucker for Instagram. So when I see another mum and son matching, I'm like, yo, wait, we can match in red. We can match in pink.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if I got £1,000 more in my salary, because that would just mean I have £1,000 more to spend on other stuff.
Right.
You know? So it's only when I started to think about, wait, am I really genuinely managing my money properly? So I started to think about what are the key principles of finance and personal finance, and the things that my mum has taught me that I genuinely need to start implementing in real life. So I knew exactly how much it is that I needed to spend on my utilities. I knew exactly how much it is that I needed to spend on childcare. And luckily for me, I had a great friend step in and tell me, you know what, I'll help you look after your son while you're at work, so you don't have to bear that cost as much. And that was such a great blessing. I praise God for that, because that genuinely helped me in terms of just having a little bit more money available.
Right.
What a thing, then I sat down is to sit down and think about, okay, I need to create a budget, because I need to genuinely understand what's coming into my account, and I genuinely need to understand what's going out of my account. And it's only when you go through line by line, and I'm telling you, when you go through line by line, you'll be shocked. Well, maybe you might not be shocked, but I was really shocked.
Okay.
How much I was genuinely wasting on things that I didn't actually need. Subscriptions. You subscribe to somebody for a free trial. Why am I still paying for this 6 months down the line? Down the line. I'm going to the supermarket, and in my head, I think I've spent £30. Why is my bank statement saying that I've been to the supermarket 4 times this week and I've spent £150?
Yeah.
In my head, I had a figure of how much I was spending every month, but the reality was really, really different. That's when I sat down and I started to think, okay, I really genuinely need to start making a difference in the way that I manage my money, start to cut down things that I genuinely didn't need. And you have to be a little bit ruthless and just be like, no, we're not spending this. I need to cancel all these subscriptions. I need to find a better utility provider. I need to stop spending money on clothes that I'm not wearing, that my son is not wearing. And if you can't, and at first, I'm not somebody who goes cold turkey. I can't do the cold turkey business. I have to limit myself. So I would give myself a budget of like £50 for my son's clothing, or, you know, do not just have like a budget there available, £10, £20, wherever it is. And then I would then say, okay, saving has to become now a priority. I have to save for something, and not just generic savings where you just have a savings pot, but have dedicated savings pots for specific things.
Oh, wow.
Travel, I have to have a travel fund that is completely separate from my normal savings, just so that I know that's my money for traveling, so that if I have a goal for it, I know that's what I'm working towards. And that genuinely really, really worked for me, because I'm not one of those people who's like super organized. No, I just automated everything. I sat down, went through it, automated everything, and it was good to go. Now, the reason why I market myself as a successful single mom is because I remember when I found out I was going to be a single mom, I became completely overwhelmed with the idea of it. And I remember reading a lot of articles and people saying, you know, such negative things and negative stereotypes with it. And at the same time, it wasn't the reality that I was seeing. I was coming across a lot of successful single moms who, because they were single moms, had paved the way, and it had given them a drive to actually achieve amazing things. Like, I remember I came across one single mom who had basically started a multi-million business from the boot of her car, because she was just buying things and then flipping them on eBay. And I was like, wait, what? And it was because, you know, when talking to her, and it was just like, you know, it was a mindset shift. So it wasn't your personal circumstances to dictate who you are. So yes, you're a single mom, but that doesn't define who you are. You still have a whole heap of talents and abilities available to you, that you don't have to be just branded as that one thing. And especially when society says that, you know, you won't survive, you'll be struggling, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be an issue for society in general. You're just, do you know what I mean? So I personally don't like those things. I'm like, no, I am not that. I've got talent and I've got gifts. So then now I had a drive, because I was like, you know what? No, I can do it. This is just my situation. This is my situation, but I'm going to make the best of it, and I have to make the best of it. So now that I sat down and I thought about my budget, and I'm trying to not only like reduce some of my expenses, I'm thinking about, okay, what else can I do? So then I sit down and say, okay, what financial goals do I genuinely want? Right. Before I had my son, I was a go-getter. I was like, by 30, I'm going to be the director of XYZ. Okay?
Oh, I love that.
Break all stereotypes. I'm going to make it. And especially because I'm in a male-driven field, it was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get there. Then I had my son, and it was like, I don't want to go back to work. I just want to be a mom.
Yeah.
And it was just like, no, the drive hadn't changed. The drive had shifted. My priorities shifted from wanting to be the next best CEO to just actually, no, I need to be able to have a set income that I can survive on without necessarily being at work. Like, I want to live my life in accordance to my rules. I want to take my son to school in the morning, not put him in breakfast club, and not see him till after school club at 6, you know? I want to be able to, you know, just do whatever it is that I want. And because we're not, at the moment, we're not in a world that is very flexible around school working patterns. And I was like, but I don't do it. I do it at work. Why can't I leave work at 2:30? I finished my work already. So then all of those things then married into actually, no, I can become a successful single mother. I can achieve my financial goals, because my goals now is to retire by the time I'm 40. Not necessarily become a millionaire, but be able to survive in the sense of I have an income coming in every single month that is able to sustain me without necessarily having being tied down to a 9-to-5 job. Be able to do that at the age of 40. I also, you know, there's certain things, and I talk a lot about this on my YouTube channel. There are a lot of things like buying my own house, being able to travel, saving a certain percentage, investing a certain percentage. So there are all these things that I would say that if you're in a position where you're thinking about your finances, is to think about what is it genuinely that you want to achieve, and not just think, I want to be a millionaire. Because if you're a millionaire, and even if you're, let's say, best case scenario, you're even making £1 million a month. If you £1 million a month and you're spending £1 million a month, you're actually in a worse off place than somebody who's making £1,000 a month and saving £300 a month. Because they're thinking about their future self, because that £300 is not just to cover them now, but it's to cover them in the future. Whereas you're just burning through your cash, and if anything happens like 2020, then and you lose income, then you're in a worse. But it doesn't matter how much you were making, you know, wealth divide or anything like that, you know. So you need to be in a place where actually you have amount of money stashed aside for you to help you in those situations. So that's why it's more about money management as opposed to just having more income. I've talked a lot. I hope that makes sense.
No, this is fantastic. Well, you're here to talk a lot, Yvonne, because we're learning from you. You know, this is your area. And I mean, honestly, there's so much I've just learned from just this little time we've spoken, because I didn't even think about having separate saving funds for the certain goals that you want to achieve. That's fantastic. That's never come across my mind.
Absolutely. So the idea of that is basically around the fact that if you have this is my by the way, this is my personal opinion. There are many schools of thoughts on how you can do this, but the way my mind works is if I have a general savings spot, then I'm more likely to dip in and out of that and not meet my goals. So let's say, for example, I'll give you some of my examples. I want to buy a house, and as well as I want to travel. If I have a generic savings pot and I have, let's say, for example, 20k in it, if I want to go abroad when the world opens up, because when the world opens up, I'm heading out. You know, if I have 20k, all I will see is I have 20k, and I'll be like, you know, we're going far. I'm booking the nicest resort. Before you know it, 3k is out. Right now, you're only left with 17k. But if at the same time I'm trying to buy a house, that means I've eaten into my house deposit, and now I only have a certain amount available. But if I have separate accounts, then I know exactly how much is available for each one. So if I know that I have a house deposit fund, that is completely separate from anything that I would ever use for traveling. And that means that is protected, because that's how much I'm going to need for my house deposit. In the same way, I would encourage everybody to have a emergency fund. In fact, that's the first savings spot that everybody should always work on, is an emergency fund. And that simply is just a stash of money that you keep aside for life emergencies that happen. You know, if your car breaks down, then you have a separate stash of money available for you to dip into that. If, God forbid, you lose your job, then you have some money aside that will cover your expenses whilst you're looking for a new job, and you don't have to worry. So the first thing that I would say is always, before you even think about having a general savings account for a house or anything like that, just build up an emergency pot that you can have easily available for you should anything happen. And I think a lot of people say, you know what, no, I'm okay, things, you know, things won't happen, I'll be fine. No, 2020 was going to be my best year. You know, I was going to like 2 resorts. I was headed out to the Caribbean.
Everyone was excited for 2020. We're like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the whole 2020 vision. No, it's going to be amazing. Well, we all learned something that year, didn't we? So
Exactly. So it's really, really important to have that. Now, there are many schools of thought as to what you should have. Some people say you should have £1,000, just £1,000 sat there. Some people say you should have 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses. And some people say you should have 12 months worth of your expenses. Now, if I think about 12 months worth of my expenses, that is a lot of money. That will seem a little bit, and it can seem a bit intimidating for me to think about 12 months worth of. So if my expenses are like £1,000 a month, that means I'm working to £12,000. That seems like a lot. It's a lot easier for me to try and save £1,000 than it is to think about how I'm going to get to £12,000.
Right.
So I would say start off with £1,000, and then after that, define the parameters of what you're working for. So when I first started with my first £1,000, then I realized, you know what, I actually want to work towards 3 months worth of expenses. So then that became my second goal, £3,000. And you can do this year on year on year. Once you get to forget about the emergency fund.
Right.
But I think once you get to £1,000, then you can slowly start to create new savings goals or new savings priorities, but still feeding into your emergency fund. Then the second thing I would say is then that's when you create the different saving pots based on what are the most priority, what are the biggest priorities to you. So is going on holiday a big priority for you? Is saving for a house a big priority for you? Or is just having, you know, the most epic birthday you have ever had really important to you? So that's when it's really, really important to create those savings pots, because that will allow you to have a defined goal and somewhere where you are, you know, putting your money towards. Then the next thing that I would say after that, the next thing I would say is have a dedicated pot of money for investing. Investing is a life-changing thing that everybody should be doing. The rich stay rich because of investing.
Well, it's, you know what, because that was going to be one of my questions. So fire away, because I know that not only are you doing your usual job, and then you've got obviously your YouTube channel, you've gone into investing as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm not even a beginner. Like, I'm like below a beginner, because there's
below a beginner.
Much. Yeah, that's how, like, I'm like a newborn basically. Like 6 months into the world of investing. Know very little about investing in comparison to what information is out there. But what I will say, at this point in time, the only reason I would really push for people to start investing more is that interest rates are so low.
Right.
And the amount that you are getting in a bank is basically
nothing.
In the sense you're actually losing money, because if inflation is growing higher than the interest rate that you have, it means you're actually losing value on your cash, higher than, you know, more than you're actually getting for your cash. So it's really, really important to invest your money, because in investing, you're basically making your money work for you. But there are a heap of research and different techniques to use when it comes to picking the right type of investment. Now, you don't necessarily have to invest in stocks and shares. You can invest in property. You can invest in art. You can invest in whatever is really, really important to you. Personally, I've chosen to go down the route of stocks and shares because I know that they grow at a really high rate. Well, I say high, but it's a higher rate than the interest rates I would be getting in my bank account. But
I see.
Start your emergency fund first.
Yes.
before you go into investing in stocks and shares. I'm not an expert. Like, again, I'm going to say this again so many times. I'm not an expert.
You keep saying this. No, she's not an expert.
I'm really not. I really, really not. But I use a platform called Trading 212, which is one of the easiest platforms I have come across when it comes to investing in stocks and shares. Not only because it lets you invest from as little as £1, and this feels like an advert.
That's very good.
From as little as £1, and that's how I got started. I was like, you know what? Yep, I've got £1. I can put that into a share somewhere. And then it also does something called fractional shares, which means, like, for example, if you want to buy an Amazon share, Amazon shares are going for, like, at the moment, I can't even remember, but it's like,
it must be okay, because Amazon's just literally bursted by the seams.
No.
Everyone's Amazon priming every other day in the lockdown. It's so bad, but hey ho, we have to have some joy.
I don't have £1,000 just sitting down like that, but you know, it allows you to buy a percentage of a share based on how much it is. If you've got £10, you can still buy Amazon shares. You won't get a full Amazon share. You'll get a 10th of an Amazon share, which is still worthwhile. As Amazon grows and its stock price grows, it means you're making money. But again, I would save that for the experts. If anyone wants any YouTube channels that will show them how to invest in stocks and shares from an actual expert, please feel free to like DM me and I will give you a list of them, because I don't want to sit here and tell people you should do this when I'm still personally learning, you know. But I think it's really, really important to invest, because it's really, really important to think about your future, about your future money as well. At this point, you can put money towards your future and it's growing at a good rate, then it means you're getting that bit quicker to get into your financial goals. And it means that when you get to your future self, then you have a significantly more amount of money available to you in 10, 20 years time. So that's what I would say. Because the beauty of investment is that your money works for you. Your money creates more money, as opposed to just sitting in a bank static.
Which is actually, it's kind of a generational thing, isn't it? That we used to just hold on to our money and let it sit in the bank. So it's something we really need to break out of. I know that I'm very much like that. My husband's been like, no, we need to invest. You know, our money needs to work for us. It's just sitting there. The interest rate is so, like, it's non-existent.
So, especially now.
So it is something that I think it is kind of generational. It's something that we've learned to just, we hold on to our money. But no, you're right, totally. Our money needs to work for us. Guys, I can see quite a few of you watching. If you have any questions, do post them in the comments box and I will do my best to grab them before they disappear off my screen. If you've got any questions, do write them in. But to continue on, I mean, Yvonne, you're a very busy lady. I mean, congratulations though on your 1K, well, I know it's 1.4 now, isn't it, subscribers on your YouTube channel, so well done. I mean, now is the time where everyone's like, I need to save my money, I need to find the latest bargains, like, you know. And I saw one of your posts where you said if you have, oh hey, little man in the background. It's all right. He's such a sweetie. But guys, no, thank you for tuning in. Honestly, if you do have any questions, post them, or, you know, put your thumbs up if you're liking what you're hearing. I hope that you're making notes, because this is some gold right here. I mean, I'm learning a lot, I have to say. And I was also a single mum myself for 6 years, so I definitely can empathize with where she's coming from and the whole stigma with being a single mum. You know, they assume that you'll always be on benefits, you'll never own your own home. So, you know, I'm so happy and proud of my dear Yvonne for all that she's achieved, honestly. You know, and I'm looking at the background. I'm looking at the background in the house. I can see you've done a lot of decorating and it looks stunning, honestly.
I got bored in lockdown.
It looks so good, honestly. I'm loving the colour palette. But yeah, so what I wanted to get to is, obviously, single mum, being a parent alone is a 24/7 job. you know, 24/7. There's no breaks. Yeah, there's no breaks.
No.
You're working. Are you working full-time or part-time?
I work full-time.
So you're a single mother.
Yep.
With the 24-hour job. You're also working full-time.
Yeah.
You then have your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You're investing.
Yeah.
The list could go on, I'm sure.
It really could.
So you need to help us out. How do you juggle everything?
That's a good question. I don't sleep. No, but I'm actually joking. I do sleep. I sleep a bit too much. But this is a question that I get a lot, and I think to be honest with you, motherhood is the one that prepared me for this, because I think the first year I didn't sleep. I hardly slept. I think the maximum I slept in the first year was like 5 hours. So I've naturally become attuned to having 5 hours worth of sleep, and that's fine for me.
Okay.
And also it comes back to how much you want something. If you really, really want something, nothing is going to stop you from getting there, including sleep. So although I carry a lot of responsibilities in the different hats that I wear. I'm a mum, like you said, I work 9 to 5, and in fact for a while I was doing really, really intense work, as well as doing like my YouTube, as well as, you know, having like my businesses, because I do have some businesses. But it's literally because I have an end goal, and that's why it's so important to have financial goals in place. So I have an end goal. I know what I'm working towards, and I know that in this period of time, it might seem like I am giving up a lot in terms of, you know, or doing, not necessarily giving up a lot, but doing a lot. But I know what I'm working towards. The other reason why I think it's a lot easier now, per se, this year and last year, is because a lot of it is in my house, you know. There's no 1 hour or 2 hour, in fact it was 2 hours for me, 2 hours a day traveling on the tube, crammed up next to somebody, you know. There's none of that anymore. So I have that additional time available. But what I genuinely like to do is to basically, this is literally one of the only areas in my life where I'm like super organized, but I like to time block. I'm a time block fan.
Okay.
So I know that, you know, I have a certain number of hours in the day. I know for a certain number of those hours I'll be asleep. That means every other time I have to use my time very, very wisely. I know exactly how many hours I need to work, and then I basically use the hours outside of that to do everything else that I need.
Wow.
So I think in order to reach your financial goals, you have to be very disciplined, and you do generally have to deprioritize sleeping or personal, not necessarily personal time, but personal wasted time, let me say that. So I always think about things like opportunity costs, which in economics just basically means the cost of giving up an alternative. So instead of me sitting down and spending an hour watching Netflix, not to say that I don't, because I do really have some time set aside to just completely switch off and zone out. But I think instead of watching an hour, 2 hours every night on Netflix, that's an hour, 2 hours that I dedicate towards my future and something that I want to do. So it used to, I don't do this as much anymore, but I would basically, if I run you through my schedule, I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Every morning I wake up at 3 a.m. I spend about half an hour, 45 minutes in devotion to God. And then between 3:45 and 5:30, I work on my business. I work on whatever it is. So if it's filming, I need to film. I have dedicated filming days. I edit every single day or almost every other day, but that's done at night. And you kind of get used to how to edit, so you know what you need to do, and it's a much more streamlined process. And then I know that my son will wake up at a certain time, and that means I need to dedicate myself to him, have breakfast, sit down, talk to him, play for a little bit, and then it's now Yvonne the worker. Then I switch on my laptop, I do my work. I navigate my work in accordance to basically my output rather than just being online. So if I know that I can do a piece of work due today and I can do it by 10 o'clock in the morning, I do it by 10 o'clock in the morning. And then it means that between 10 and 12, I have some free time. And I use that time not to go on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, to work towards my business and doing that. So it's really all about time management and using your time effectively. Now, it used to be that I would then stay up till like 10 o'clock, 11, but that don't work. So I go to bed really early.
Wow. I was going to say 3 a.m. and then being up till 10. Woof.
Yeah, it's wild. After a couple of days, it gets to you. But then I had a period where it shifted and I would work better at night. And so I would be up until like 2 a.m. working, and then I would go to sleep, and then I'd be up at 6 or at 7.
Right.
When my son wakes up. But it's all about making sure that you put time towards what it is that you want to achieve, and making sure that you are actually dedicating that time for that. Because if somebody, like, I'm pretty sure if somebody told you, Siobhan, if you didn't sleep for your 20s, throughout your 20s, you didn't do much, so that now in your 30s you could live the life you wanted, so many of us would take that up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially before having kids, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I would be like, yeah.
At this point in time, it might look like you're giving up a lot or you're missing out a lot. Well, this year you ain't missing. Last year, this year, you ain't missing out on nothing because we're all locked down, you know? So
yeah.
just maximizing your time for your goals. So that's what I would say right now. Just make the most. And I especially say this to people who are not in a relationship or they don't have children. You have all the time right now. Make the most of it. That business you've wanted, you've been thinking about, just do it. Especially now. I think we're so blessed to be in a time where everything can be done online. You know, like when people, if I think about 10 years ago, and you told somebody I wanted to have a business, they'll be like, have you got your business case? Have you got this written down? Have you got your 10-year plan? Have you got your 5-year? You don't need it. You need an internet.
True.
A good Wi-Fi connection, something that a device. It doesn't even have to be a computer or a laptop. Your phone is good enough, and there are a variety of ways that you can make some additional money, or you can start your business. But I would just say go for it. And actually, that's one. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's another key financial goal that I would say a lot of people should have, is multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
It's so important not to be so dependent on one income stream. And that is something that I've learned a lot, because if anything should happen to that one income stream,
it's done.
Then that's it, exactly. But if you've got multiple income streams, even if one gets taken away, it's fine, because you've still got a couple more there for you, and you don't have to worry, because so much of our lives, again, is so driven by our finances.
Absolutely.
That you really genuinely have to have that on board, and it has to be a priority for you. So yeah, I would say definitely make the most of your time. If you need 7 hours sleep 7, because sleep is super, super important. But if you know that you can actually survive very well on 5 or 6, sleep on 6, and then do the rest working on your business, working on you, working on what you want, as opposed to just focusing on, oh, I need to work on my 9 to 5 and that's it. I would say that it is really, really important to have like time out, and just time to just like settle, think about nothing, because after a while you can burn out really, really quickly, especially if you're constantly up early, late at night, doing work, doing your 9 to 5, being a mum. You can get burnt out really, really quickly. So what I like to do is on Sundays, I don't touch any device whatsoever. And I do what I like. I sit down, I binge my Netflix, I do whatever it is that will make me happy. And that basically just breaks the week completely for me, and it just allows me to just be me. Whatever on, sit down, you know, do whatever it is that I like. Well, I'm just binge watching a few K-dramas. But you know, that's what I enjoy doing. But whatever it is, if you're a person of nature, you prefer the walking or the running, then do that, and just do something that is completely separate to what you're doing Monday to Saturday or Monday to Friday.
Yeah. No, that is fantastic. I mean, I've taken a lot, blocked my hours, which is, you know what, I've got my 5-month-old, so, and I'm homeschooling. It's all kind of it's all one big day at the moment. But yeah, totally block my hours, because we're starting up a few businesses as well in this time. So it's just like trying to make sure everything's happening. So got that. Investing in stocks and shares. I will listen to my husband now. Now you've told me to. Yeah, doing that. Also, like when you just said about, you know, having the weekend as well, because for me, routine really helps, but I really need that time to just unwind as well. So you just said that breaks up the week. So that gives me some joy to hear. And then you said about discipline as well. So I'm taking all this on board because, yeah, we all of us, we need to make sure our money's working for us. I mean, our financial goal at the moment is to get a house.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. Sometimes it feels like that goal is so far away. And it's like, how do you keep the motivation and the momentum and the belief that you will get there? And like you said, it's those little bits here and there, having those separate accounts, so you know, okay, this is going towards this goal. So I've taken that on board as well, to have those separate pots, but to have the emergency fund first.
Have the emergency fund. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, I would say, is be very wise and disciplined with your money, but also put a little bit of money aside for you to just have no accountability for. You need fun. Everybody needs some fun money. But your fun money should not be more than the amount you're saving.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna save 10%, but my fun money is 20% of my income. No. Have a little bit of money aside, just to splash out. You know, we're enjoying life. Life is tough. Everybody's working hard. We're living in really unprecedented times. And it's just important to just have a little bit of money to just enjoy yourself and have fun with, and not have any account for, just enjoy it. I would also say make saving a priority, and make saving almost like paying yourself, and make it and make sure you devote to paying yourself. If you get to the point where you set up a budget, and this is what I do, you get to a point where you set up a budget and you basically know exactly what your expenses are, and you know exactly how much it is that you are available. You have to save that at the beginning of the month, as opposed to waiting till the end of the month to see if you reach that goal, because that will make you reach your financial goals a lot quicker. And saving so much easier. And then automate that process. Set up a direct debit or a standing order, and just have that automated to come out at the first of the month. Because what will happen is, for most of us, we have three buckets on our budgets. So we have our fixed expenses, which would be like, for example, your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, everything that you need to have a shelter. And then you will have your flexible expenses, which are things that you like and you need and you want, but they're not going to impact your life dramatically. So for example, things like your gym membership, or your toiletries, or, you know, if you like your Amazon Prime, those are things that are flexible. You can 1 month go with them, 1 month not go with them, you know. And then you have your savings pot. So what I would say is, make your fixed expenses a priority, because you don't pay that gas bill, you don't pay that, if you don't pay your mobile phone bill, you're going to be in trouble. So everything that has a consequence to it, make that a priority. And then your flexible expenses is where you can shift things around. So make sure your fixed expenses and your savings are number one priority, number one and number two priority. Pay those first. And then whatever is left is what you now distribute towards your fund money, or whatever it is that you like or you want. That way, as opposed to what most people do is have their fixed expenses paid for, have their flexible expenses paid for, and then whatever is left at the end is what they save. So, and that's that 1 month you save £200, next month you're like, ooh, and you only save £50. But if you have a goal and you're working hard to it, make sure that your savings are number two priority after your fixed expenses.
Fantastic. Well, I'm very excited. I'm actually feeling really motivated. Good. Tomorrow will be the day of just, you know, cracking down and getting a bit more disciplined with our money, honestly.
Yeah, so no, I mean, we haven't captured the realm of debt, because that's another thing that actually is really, really important. And in fact, I would say after your first £1,000 of your emergency fund, you should really crack on getting rid of your debt as quickly as possible, because that is money that is not yours, that you owe to
Yeah, that you need to be giving back. Absolutely.
And I think it's really, really important that everybody should work to, not all debt is bad debt. Like, for example, if you have a mortgage, don't feel bad if you have a mortgage. It is in essence a debt, but it's not as bad as, for example, if you picked up a store card that you're not paying back. So a lot of people get caught up, and I was like this as well, get caught up in just paying the minimum payment.
Right.
So all you're doing is just paying off the interest, but your debt still sits there. And it's something that, you know, you owe. You owe back.
Yeah.
So everything that you owe back to somebody else, pay that off. Get rid of any, anything that is holding you back from reaching your financial goals. And then work on basically getting your life, living your best life, you know? Siobhan, I was thinking, I still have more than my entire life to work before I can retire. No, my entire existence, I have more than my entire existence still left to work. And who knows, by the time I get to, like, at the moment it's 65, but by the time I get to 65, it might have shifted to 75. And then you're telling me the life expectancy is what, 88? So that means I only have 30 years to live my best life. No way. No way.
This is the thing, you know what you want, Yvonne, and so you're going to achieve it. And that's another thing, having the mindset to be like, this is what I want, and this is honestly what I'm going to work towards. So
I genuinely think it's really important for everybody to sit down and think, what is my ideal life? Because I think if you genuinely ask a lot of people are not working a 9 to 5 is not their ideal. In all honesty. For a lot of people hate the jobs that they're in. Why would you want to carry on doing that for another 3 decades? Working jobs you like to be upset? No. A lot of I personally cannot, you know. I want to live my best life now. I want to be able to travel whenever I want to travel. I want to do whatever it is that makes me happy, you know. And I don't want to wait more than my existence to be able to do that.
Yeah, totally.
So, just sit down and think about what it is that you want, and then from there start working hard towards that, and remembering that we're not in the world of our parents or our grandparents, which meant wealth was only available to those who already had wealth.
Right.
A generation of people making crazy money nowadays because they just are going for it. So I would say go for it. And
that's the thing for today. Go for it.
Absolutely. Get your finances in order, and then start working towards the life you have dreamed of, because it's totally possible.
Amen.
And trust me, if a single mum can tell you that, it can be done, you know? It can totally
It can be done. It really, really can. Now, honestly, you've given us so much. There was a comment actually that I'd like to highlight from a lady called Lucy. And she says that she has no clue about investments, but definitely wants it for her daughter's future. And I mean, like you were saying, it was you becoming a mum that really sparked that change, isn't it? Because, I mean, we all want better for the next generation, don't we, for our children? So, but what would you say to this lady who's, you know, she's saying she doesn't have a clue about investments, but definitely wants to for her daughter's future?
So I would say the best thing that we have available is the internet. We have access to so much information for free. And so the first thing I would do is getting your financial knowledge from scratch. If it is about investing, watch as many YouTube channels as you can when it comes to investing. Learn the basics. Go online, read blogs, buy books, and understand exactly what it is that you want to invest in. I'm assuming you're talking about stocks and shares, but if you wanted to invest in property or art, find out what the processes are for doing that. And then based on understanding the knowledge, because I think the most important investment you can do is in yourself first and foremost. And then you can now have action and steps to help you get to the point that you need to be in. So for example, if it's to have stocks and shares for your daughter, then understand how the stock market works, understand how you would go about choosing the right stocks and shares for you, understand what processes there are, for example, when it comes to like if you're going to invest in like dividend stocks, at what point do you have to get taxed and all those things, and then think about actionable steps for how you do that.
He is such adorable. He's so adorable. Bless him.
That's what I would say.
No, that has been so helpful. We've actually had Vicky here saying so helpful. So honestly, it's been an amazing session. And I mean, you highlighted about debt and managing debt, and that is another big topic. So I'd like to say to everyone watching, if that's something that you would like us to discuss, put a thumbs up or put in the comments that yes, you would like us to do that, and then we will slot in another day to have that conversation, because the amount of people living with debt and the average amount of debt is very high, and you know, we can be bound to it. It can cause us sleepless nights. You know, it's not great, but it isn't impossible to get rid of. So yes, if you want us to do that, then yes, put a thumbs up or put something in the comments, and yeah, we'll make it happen. But Yvonne, honestly, it has been amazing. Thank you so much. Just share how people can follow you and find your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on all my socials. All my socials are Yvonne Huduma, and you can find me on YouTube as Yvonne Huduma. Feel free to check out my videos, watch them, like them, subscribe. Also, if you've got specific questions, I'm more than happy to chat one-to-one to people. So DM me on Instagram, or DM me on Instagram basically, or send me an email. It's on my YouTube channel. So send me an email, and I'm more than happy to chat to people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So that was the first episode of the Womanhood series. Very, very excited. And again, guys, if you have any topics as well that you'd like us to discuss on the Womanhood series, do let us know. A few of you have actually been sending through your requests. We had menopause, what to expect in the menopause. And there was another one about post-pregnancy as well, and the shocks and horrors that comes with that we don't talk about, which we really should be talking about. So yes, if there's any other topics, do let us know. But we will be back here again soon with episode 2, and we're going to make this a podcast as well. So if you missed it, you know, you can listen to it on the podcast once we get it up, and obviously this will be available for you to rewatch. So tag someone who you think this will benefit as well, guys. Honestly, share it with people, because finance, like everyone said, is a massive part of our lives. So we can be bound by it, or we can be free in it. Right. So guys, thank you so much. Yvonne, God bless you, and we're so excited to see where you're going to go next, because you are not a woman that is contained in a box. No way. You're going to keep defying the odds. Absolutely. I love it.
And if anything, just remember, you don't want to keep working the existence of more than you've existed.
Yeah.
Live a life. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thanks.
And yeah, catch up soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.